Good morning, Bio Peeps. It is Friday, May 22nd, and as our countdown shows us, we have 3 e-learning days left. Sorry for the delay in getting this daily announcement up, but today what's going to happen is I'm going to give you some time to play a game. It's an educational game, it always is. But what I want you to do is explore evolutionary relationships. So you looked at natural selection, one mechanism of evolution, change over time. You've looked at evidence of evolution through the inner fish. I hope you enjoyed the video. And so you should have seen that there are different types of evidence that we use as scientists to show that organisms have changed over time. We use fossil evidence. We use biogeography, meaning where they come from. We use DNA evidence. We use anatomy. So we have these things called vestigial structures and homologous structures. They might have mentioned that in the video. Don't worry about the words. If you go on to AP Bio, you'll talk more in detail about that. DNA evidence, if I didn't say that already. Embryology, how it develops. And so we have this evidence, and then we have to kind of put it together. And so we have another tool that we use. We have something called phylogenetic trees. Phylogenetic trees or cladograms, they show relationships between organisms, and they show which organisms have more similarities and which ones have more differences, and thus which are probably more closely related together. And when we say related, it just means that they share a common ancestor. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these clues, we're going to take these evidence and try to use phylogenetic trees, a tool, to help show how closely related certain organisms are to one another. And we're going to do it through the Evolution Nova game. Now, I sent out the email earlier. It will be on week 19 right here, but you guys know lovely Power School likes to get tangled up. So I was just getting the kitty a couple of minutes ago. So I'm going to try after this screencast. You should see a block here. But in the meantime, you can still access it via email. And if you go into your assignments for biology, you will see something called Nova Lab Evolution Game. And this is where you're going to upload your screenshot. So when you're in the Nova Evolution Game, okay, this is straight out of your email. You're going to click on it. It's going to take you to Nova Labs. You probably have to sign in. I'm signed in from where I signed in earlier. You're going to sign in with just your Google account. So what could you possibly have in common with a mushroom or dinosaur or even a bacteria? More than you might think. So in this lab, you're going to kind of puzzle out evolutionary relationships. Now, remember, we're talking about relationships. That means that we share common ancestors. It does not mean that we come from these organisms, okay? There's a very big misconception, and that's not what this is saying at all. We're just trying to put the pieces together. So if you want, you can watch the video intro. It kind of talks about Darwin a little bit and natural selection, but a lot of us just jump straight into playing things. So when you go into play the game, you'll be taken to the evolution lab. There are 6 missions. I'm asking you to do 1, 2, and 3. Mission 1 is going to be training trees. It's going to teach you how to use the tools to create these trees to show the relationships and how to read them. Mission 2 is going to use fossil evidence and have you create a phylogenetic tree, a tool to look at the relationships between the organisms it's giving you based on fossils. And finally, Mission 3 is going to look at DNA evidence. And so we're going to use 2 types of evidence here in Missions 2 and 3 to look at these evolutionary relationships. Now, you have to complete one mission before the next one unlocks. So 1 has to be completed before 2. 2 has to be completed before 3. I want you to send a screenshot of your completed mission 3 up, and that's going to be your assignment grade for today. Okay, just the screenshot, and we are good to go on that. Now, when you click on mission 1, okay, you're going to see that each mission has 3 parts. There will also be a video. The videos are not very long. Please watch the videos. It will kind of help you get started. So once you complete number 1, you'll go on to number 2, and then you'll go on to number 3. You will get scores up here based on how well you do. in the past, when we're doing this together as a class, we have quizzes, we have worksheets, we have discussions about it. Obviously, with distance learning, we have to make some changes and some cuts, and this is one of those areas that we're making cuts. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can go back into it when I go to play game. There is this little clip here, deep time. So I think it's just interesting. If you're interested in looking at it, here's an example of a phylogenetic tree of life. There's some information here. This version shows the current hypotheses about the evolutionary history of over 70,000 species. It's like a map of biodiversity, and each time a new discovery is made, new evidence is found, this tree gets updated. And so it's kind of cool because you can actually click on some of these organisms, and I believe you can see here kind of how it branches out. So on one branch here, we have our bacteria. Okay. On this branch here, we have microscopic organisms. I think these are our eukaryotes right here. Okay. And on this one, we have another type of bacteria, archaebacteria. Okay, so that's just something interesting if you want to explore that a little bit. Now, a couple other announcements. Our genetics project, disorder project, I've started grading some of them. I sent out information for you guys about that. If there are comments there, if I take off any points, I try to put a comment in its place, such as make sure, that instead of just reading the slides, this is a common one, make sure that you're presenting it, that you show that you own the material, meaning you don't just read the slides. Don't put everything on the slides. You don't want to have too many words there. Have the bullets there and then talk about it. Or if you do have a lot of words there, your entire presentation, then I want you to elaborate and talk about something that's not there, or sound like you're not just reading word for word. It just shows more ownership, confidence, and knowledge of the subject. So I might write a comment like that, and it would explain why you got a 3 out of 4 instead of a 4 out of 4 on that particular part. It doesn't mean go back and redo it. It means just keep this in mind as you go on with future presentations and future classes and with future teachers. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, so this is due, I started grading them. I'll be grading on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday. Next week on Wednesday, you guys are going to have a flip grid. Everybody will have one required flip grid assignment. In addition, if you wanted to do the extra credit makeup for your check for understanding, I talked about that in the previous announcement. You will have a second option for a flip grid, and you are going to discuss, I'll give you points to discuss from that check for understanding or based on it. And you're going to talk about what you know about that topic. So I might ask you in the flip grid to compare and contrast and complete and codominance. Or I might ask you to explain how meiosis leads to variation. These are questions that are based on the check for understanding questions. Okay? So you will have that as an optional extra credit, and it will be test extra credit. I'll give you points back on your check for understanding assessment. So Wednesday of next week, everybody will have one required flip grid, and then those that want to do the optional extra credit will have that too. Next Friday, our very last day, we will have a survey, and I will have an optional Google Meet as an end of the semester. I'll probably put a survey out, like what time works best, and maybe what we'll try to do is get a picture of the class or whoever can join us in the class as a memento of our crazy distance learning biology end of 8th grade 2020 memory. Okay, so that will be next Friday as well. So next Wednesday, flip grid, next Friday, survey, and optional Google Meet. Okay, and that's going to take us out to the end of the year. If you have questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you later.